Think about silence and all it implies. But think now quickly about words and meaning, about words and meaning and metaphor.
Lo que pasa es que yo no oigo nada.
¿No estás oyendo nada?
No.
Ah.
About words and deception.
Como me has dicho que me pondrías el texto.
About how metaphor or any kind of figurative language might in fact, and often inadvertently, lead to a kind of deception. The silence might affect. Think of a scaffold.
Què és scaffold?
És un andami.
Poso l'àudio del silence o no?
Sí.
Vale. Play. Dime vida. En la fábrica. Sí.
Vale. Jo crec que amb això ja ho faré. Perdona-me.
Think about silence and all it implies. But think now quickly about words and meaning, about words and meaning and metaphor, about words and deception, about how metaphor or any kind of figurative language might in fact, and often inadvertently, lead to a kind of deception. Think about how speech, as opposed to silence, might effect an inadvertent self-deception. Think of a scaffold. I have a fondness for scaffolds. On mentioning, however, in any given situation my liking for these structures, talk tends to turn first, though not always, to provisionality, to the scaffold's transitory nature. In her Notes Toward a History of Scaffolding, poet Susan Mitchell dubs scaffolds ephemeral, dross from the furnace. But unlike dross, a mass of solid impurities floating on molten metal post-smelting, the scaffold, in assisting with the resurrection and upkeep of buildings and artworks, does not undergo any permanent substantive change itself. A scaffold is neither a catalyst nor a waste material. It maintains its own shape, even after its deliberate collapse. A second line of conversation, though not always, the scaffold is likened to X. It becomes an analogy, for the importance of aid often, for the importance of institutional aid, and a metaphor too for the artistic process, as opposed to its product. Sometimes the former likeness is communicated in the tones of a thought-terminating statement, usually a cliché invoked in order to quell any cognitive dissonance the speaker might be experiencing. It is what it is, è così, it's all good. The mind reaches for clichés, for thought-terminating statements, when it perceives insurmountable difficulties and/or a problem whose resolution might leave the individual to whom it occurs in a position ostensibly of lower security, as with, say, wealth redistribution.
That's it.
Yes, such vital work. Sometimes when a metaphor feels apt enough, satisfying both speaker and audience with its seeming accuracy, it can become a kind of decoy, supplanting the original need for a real, a more complex solution. One day, while looking through an artist's book with a friend, I noticed myself drift, as I always do, as I have taught myself to do, towards the more incongruous, idiosyncratic pieces, towards those pieces that would, offered alone and without qualifications, misrepresent the larger body of work. That one, I say, stabbing at a smallish image towards the bottom of a verso page, I like that one. The page I have selected is full of decorative borders, frames and scrolls that presage nothing. These empty spaces imply text, suggesting through their arrangement the planned presence of a verbal sign, without committing to anything so limiting, such that the reader is left to contemplate the silence, as when, in conversation, the listener remains mute, but through her deferral of speech, offers her silence as a reactive token, that is, as an indication of displeasure, disagreement, or perhaps embarrassment.
Ya está.
My friend remains silent, but her silence signals none of the above. I take it in, the silence. In this instance, my finger still on the page, my friend still mute, the silence strikes me as a condition of our intimacy, as a thorough and felt engagement with my statement and with our shared view of the book, the page. It is a rejection of cliché, of a desire to name or decide, to make a value judgment, to grip and pincer, to assent or contradict. Her silence tells me that I am no threat to her.
Un monstre se'ns vol menjar.
Silence is not the opposite of speech. It is round, like time. There is no such thing as silence. I want more of it.
A salir como la mujer del visillo, ¿no?
Se ha acabado ya, ¿no?
Sí. Pero el idioma es inglés, ¿no? Y la reflexión, ¿cuándo quieres que la haga? Que mi reflexión es que la música es el más agradable de los sonidos y el silencio es el más agradable de los pensamientos. Ya está.